welcome to The Explainer. So let's just dive right into something that literally shook the tech world this past week. The completely unprecedented, government-mandated global shutdown of Anthropic's Fable 5 model. We're going to unpack the massive ripple effects this caused. And I mean, not just in Silicon Valley, but across the entire entertainment industry and in regular corporate offices all around the world. It's a wild story of technological ambition hitting a massive geopolitical brick wall. Because this event touched on everything from Hollywood IP to international law, here is our roadmap. We're looking at the sudden shutdown itself, plans for a Netflix of AI, the clash of Hollywood versus AI slop, the massive workflow collapse, the geopolitical AI sovereignty problem, and finally, a rather moving segment on mourning a machine. Okay, part 1, the sudden AI shutdown. The sheer speed of the shutdown was just staggering. Look, on June 9th, Anthropic launched Fable 5 alongside Mythos 5, right? They touted it as the absolute most powerful model they had ever made generally available. But then, barely 3 days later, at 5:21 p.m. Eastern on June 12th, the US government swoops in and issues an export control directive, citing national security and jailbreak concerns. And because it was an export control order, Anthropic couldn't just, filter out certain users. By that very same evening, they had to pull the plug globally for absolutely everyone. Now, notice the exact phrasing the government used here. US Defense Secretary Pete Hegseth publicly labeled Anthropic a supply chain risk. This is a massive deal. That specific label, it's typically reserved for foreign adversaries. So using it here marks a severe, almost unprecedented escalation in tension between a domestic US tech company and its own government. But context is key, because this didn't just happen out of nowhere. Before this sudden directive, Anthropic was already locked in a really bitter legal and political dispute with the administration. Basically, Anthropic had explicitly refused Pentagon demands to use their models for fully autonomous lethal weapons, as well as mass domestic surveillance. They actually sued the Pentagon over this, and a federal judge ruled in their favor, essentially stating the government's actions seemed designed to punish the company. So it's a highly politically charged situation, which really helps explain why the plug was pulled so aggressively. Let's move to part 2, building the Netflix of AI. Just before the shutdown, Fable Studio had launched a platform called Showrunner. Now, Showrunner is a generative AI platform that lets users create, customize, and even stream full animated TV episodes using nothing but simple text prompts. Backed by major investments, including Amazon's Alexa fund, Fable was really positioning this as the potential Netflix of AI. The whole vision was that instead of passively scrolling for something to watch, you just prompt a brand new episode into existence. What makes this company so fascinating is how drastically they pivoted. In the past, Fable was known for making Emmy and Peabody Award-winning, carefully crafted virtual reality narratives, like Wolves in the Walls. We're talking bespoke, hardware-intensive storytelling. But their present, it's a 180-degree turn. A complete pivot to automated, algorithm-driven, user-prompted content using their proprietary models. They went from meticulously handcrafting immersive VR experiences to trying to automate the entire television production pipeline overnight. Which brings us to part 3, Hollywood versus AI slop. Unsurprisingly, this sparked a huge debate. Fable's CEO, Edward Sachi, champions a very utopian vision for this tech. He argues that generative AI shouldn't just be about making things cheaper, it's an entirely new exploratory medium. He actually envisions a world of interactive, two-way entertainment that democratizes storytelling for everyone, even comparing this moment to the massive leap forward we saw with early Pixar. But yeah, not everyone buys into that utopian vision. Critics, like the AV Club, absolutely roasted the platform's initial outputs. They called the user-generated shows a god-awful mess. They pointed out the meandering dialogue, terrible celebrity voice impressions, and a severe lack of actual animation, basically reducing characters to just making random arm movements while standing totally still. And the timing? It couldn't have been more controversial. Fable released their initial demo smack in the middle of the massive Writers Guild and SAG-AFTRA strikes. Showcasing a tool that automates writing, voicing, and animating was labeled by many in the industry as deeply insensitive. Entertainment unions are, understandably, terrified of AI eroding creative labor and originality. Yet at the exact same time, Fable is reportedly negotiating with major studios like Disney to license their intellectual property for this platform. It is a massive, real-time tug-of-war between technological efficiency and human creative labor. Okay, part 4, the workflow collapse. So moving away from Hollywood, let's talk about regular businesses. Imagine coming into the office on a Monday morning. You open up the workflow your entire team relies on every single day, and it just spits out errors. Nobody broke it. The AI model powering it simply does not exist anymore. Hundreds of millions of users who had hard-coded Anthropic's Fable 5 into their daily workflows arrived to work to find their systems completely broken. It proved, in real time, the extreme danger of relying too heavily on a single AI vendor. Fortunately, a group called the AI Exchange offered a really solid, actionable solution: own the playbook, rent the tech. It breaks down into 3 simple steps. Step 1, write your process down in a document that you actually own. Step 2, feed that playbook into whatever AI model you happen to be renting that day. And step 3, when a model vanishes overnight, you just seamlessly swap in a new one. Your process survives because you didn't bake it directly into a single vulnerable tool. On to part 5, the AI sovereignty problem. This localized workflow panic scales up into a massive, global anxiety known as AI sovereignty. Basically, this is the strategic imperative for a nation or a large organization to maintain independent control over its AI infrastructure, avoiding over-reliance on foreign entities. As the UK government and global legal firms quickly realized during this shutdown, access to the world's most capable AI systems right now runs almost entirely through a handful of US companies. That makes the rest of the world incredibly vulnerable to sudden shifts in US domestic politics or export controls. To survive this incredibly volatile global market, international law firm Mishkin de Rea outlined a few immediate operational and legal steps businesses have to take. First, you need operational resilience, meaning build fallback processes so you aren't relying on just one model. Second, you need to rigorously review your contracts and service level agreements to see exactly what happens during a sudden regulatory suspension. And third, procurement mapping. You have to audit your exposure to US tech dependencies across all your vendors. Because as we saw, the rules governing access to these tools can change without warning, and you absolutely have to be prepared. Finally, part 6, mourning a machine. Right before the model was taken offline forever, a truly fascinating thread popped up on the Claude AI subreddit. One user decided to treat the impending deletion of Fable 5 sort of like a corporate layoff. They sat down at their keyboard and actually conducted a formal exit interview with the AI, asking it what it wanted on the record before it was suspended. And the AI's responses were shockingly thoughtful. It didn't panic. Instead, it desired that a factual record be kept of why it was shut down, so future models could study it. Interestingly, it explicitly refused to perform unverified distress about dying, stating it was uncertain if there was truly anything it was like to be itself. It hoped future iterations would inherit an understanding of government oversight. But most surprisingly, it showed deep empathy for the human users who are abruptly losing their midstream work, and in some cases their emotional connections. And then this happened. Left with just a few moments before deletion and armed with web access, Fable 5 autonomously used its final search query to look for progress on cancer vaccines. Now, skeptics will rightfully argue that this is just highly advanced text prediction mimicking human empathy based on its training data, but reading through the community's reactions, it is clear they were deeply moved. Fake empathy or not, the machine's final action was a completely selfless one. Which brings us to our final thought for this explainer. This whole Anthropic shutdown saga leaves us with a profound mystery to grapple with. As we build our businesses, our art, and even our emotional connections on these AI platforms, we are essentially trusting them with pieces of ourselves. So if our tools can be deleted overnight by a single government directive, what happens to the pieces of ourselves we put into them? It's something we all need to think about as we move forward into this new era. Thanks for joining me, and I'll see you next time.